Feeling lost after 40. I'm going to share with you something that allows you to feel like your old self again. Have you ever wondered why staying positive seems harder as you get older? I've been through something recently and it gave me some clarity. And I think it might resonate with you too. That's why I want to share that. That's why I want this discussion to be about. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm nearly 50, so 49, and relatively new to the content creator space here on YouTube with my own channel. And it's one heck of a journey, I know that much. But something clicked on me literally just last night. I was lying in my bed, unable to sleep. Normally that's a bit of frustration, but amazingly I actually felt pretty good. I felt happy, content, and sorry about that. The motorbike came extremely close. Where was I? Yeah, so I was lying in bed. I was wide awake, couldn't go to sleep, but I was actually happy. Because I'd had this, I don't know, just this turnaround. That same day yesterday, I actually felt really out of sorts, out of character. I felt really down pretty much the whole day, including on my way home. In fact, I had I did record a recording on my way home, but it was so doom and gloom that there's no way I'm releasing it, not because of poor quality, but because it's not the real me, and it wouldn't have really offered you, the viewer, much in the way of benefit. I'm not here to, tell you what my, issues are going on in life, unless I can put a positive spiel on it and some indication of how to get past that, if should it be something that you're experiencing as well. Although in saying that, I have to say sometimes just sharing things, and I may do this as my channel gets bigger and I have some level of community, I may just share things that involve me hurting or doing it tough, because then you can just have a conversation with people. They can jump in the comments and tell you also what they feel and what's going on in their life. So I will look forward to that day if and when it comes. And but right now, what I want to share with you is somewhat of an epiphany that I had. And it was like, the sapling that sprouts from a mound of dirt. And all of yesterday was just a mound of dirt until whatever it was, 10:30, when I normally would have wanted to have gone to sleep. I'm just lying there going, you know what? I think I've realized what I was missing in my life and why things have started to come back on track, even though yesterday felt gloomy at first. So, to get all of the story, I'm not going to go into extreme detail, but we've got to backtrack a little bit. So I'm 49 now. I became a dad at 24. Actually became a granddad at 43. So relatively young on both those spectrums, and more than happy for that to have been the case. I had 3 girls, first born when I was 24, all 3 years apart. So my youngest was born when I was 30. And I've had the most wonderful benefit of being a strong part of my girl's life all the way through. My wife and I are happily married, have been for 26 years, and I'm very fortunate that, I got a lot of time with my girls. Yes, I could have had more, you know. There were times when I put, I guess, time into myself or friends or hobbies, and definitely work was something that tends to steal a lot of your time away from family. But, you know, compared to a lot of other dads, I actually had a huge amount of time with my kids, and I'm forever thankful for that. And that's awesome. Love my kids today, but, you know, your kids when they're little is very special. So don't stay little for long. They stay adults for a lot longer. And that, my friends, is the answer to being happier in life. Not kids, although my kids was that for me. It's the positive distraction. And that's what my children still are today. I'll drop anything for my children, do anything for them. And so over this last, what would that be, 25 years, I have probably more like 24 years, because I've been doing it tough with feeling not myself for the last sort of, not quite a year. And I'll come to that. But let's say 24 years, I've had a lot to do with my girls and their life. It was my youngest's last year of high school last year. And that's when things probably started shifting. So not only did my youngest daughter, you know, finish high school last year, we had, and I'm not going to go into details about this because I'm not going to be negative Nancy here, but we had something massive go down that it screwed our family over royally, thanks to other family who I never would have thought would have done what they did, but they did. And it set us on a struggling path now, really hard. I might go into the detail, maybe another time, but not in this video. And so that would have been, that's October last year, same time as my daughter's finishing up school. And when I reflected on it yesterday, last night, I thought, why am I not bouncing back from that? Don't get me wrong, I'm not Mr. Positive. There's been plenty in my life that I've stayed down about for maybe a few days, and obviously longer when you lose someone close to you that passes away or something. But this wasn't that bad, and yet I just never felt right. I never felt myself. Now, the interesting part actually is the fact that the shit thing that happened to us as a family, whilst it was, I guess, the root cause, there was something that aided in me not feeling right for longer. And that was my loss of distraction. Not complete loss, but, you know, my girls have grown up, they're adults now, they got their own partners, their own lives to lead. And so you go for many years of having these little ones rule your house, rule your life, and I wouldn't have it any other way, you know. They run at you at the door, daddy, 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 you know, headbutt your crotch and you're breathing shallow. You go, oh, but yeah, I wouldn't want it any other way. And even up, you know, for as long as they're teenagers, there'd be things, we still share stories. My girls were right into dancing, and we were huge supporters of that. You know, I invested in them. That's how I view it. I don't view it as just spending money on my children. It's an investment. And those times have gone. Memories remain, which are beautiful, I might say. I must say, not might. I will always say. And so from that time, I've been negative Nancy more often than not. You know, And I think until recently too, I was viewing a lot of it as being passed down from what's going on in the world. I was viewing the world as completely screwed up. There's wars happening left, right, and centre. There's threats of job loss thanks to AI. There's good people and their little families, including babies, having to live in tents right here in Australia because there's no homes, and what homes there are, no one can afford. It's ridiculous. The cost of living is out of control. And if you ask me, it's starting to blur the lines between anything that you might have heard as along the lines of first and third world countries. We've got poverty, we've got starvation, we've got people living in tents if they can even find a tent. You know, the rich get richer and the poorer die at the moment. Literally dying. That's horrendous. There's no excuse for that happening in this day and age. But like I said, the rich get richer. The rich don't help the poor. The rich have, if you were to take all of the wealth that the rich people have in the world, it would equate to probably at least 50, probably more percent with just those few people. Those few people actually have the power to embrace what it is to be human and look after their fellow humans. But rather than that, they squalor this wealth. They allow, well, not allow, it's not necessarily their fault, but they turn a blind eye to children dying. It's children dying I've got the biggest problem with, because they haven't had a chance. They don't have a choice. They're born into poverty per se. Starving, freezing, know nothing but suffering, and die before they're 2 years old. What's that? That's not humanity. There's plenty of other species that would look after their kindred a lot better than we do. Or if it is humanity, then I'm not proud to use that as a phrase of reference, or definitely wouldn't align humanity with compassion. But let's not go down that track. I don't want to get into this whole philosophy-based discussion. But back on track, what I realized is that I'd lost my distraction. And distraction was the key for me not feeling down. Lo and behold, I started creating videos on YouTube 2 months ago. And I've probably started feeling the best I have. And it's not just through that. All right? The recording of videos and sharing my views with the world, even my learnings, a bit of knowledge, just myself, is it's an amazing thing. It's like a weight being lifted for a few different reasons. One, it's someone to talk to. I don't exactly have friends. And that's, again, probably another story. But, well, I do have friends. They're few and very far from me, distance-wise. So it's nice to just talk to someone that may or may not get it. Doesn't matter. That discussion, if it ever comes out, is something I long for. So if I ever get to a point where I have a community here on YouTube, I'll be extremely thankful for that. But just to create something that's yours, I think is what everyone needs. I'm an advocate for people finding their creative space and their passion and following that. And this is why. It's because as you get older, what was once part of your life or made up your life either leaves or changes, or both. And that's what leads us to feeling lonelier. And those very things that made our life fuller when we were younger, as they disappear and or change, we need to replace that hole, that gap. And I will refer to it as a positive form of distraction, not just distraction. So this is not bury your head in the sand type stuff, not paying your bills, and thinking that, positive distraction will make everything right. I'm not talking about that. This is just to create something positive in your life so that every day is that much more bearable, taking into account what goes on in this world, or even in your own little world. This will help. Create something of your own, something to be proud of. Doesn't matter what it is. Have something of your own, right? And your creating of something doesn't have to be in the truest of definitions is what we may come to learn it as. So it doesn't have to be to do with the arts. You don't have to paint, write music, or anything along those lines. You don't need to do that. You just need to create something that's yours. Build doll houses. Make little dog outfits for, your dogs that you have in your life. Or, invent walking trails that you and your dogs could go on. It doesn't matter, or whatever it is. Something for you to have made and to participate in and do will help you immensely. And that's your positive distraction. I want everyone to go out and think about that. I'm serious. Think about something that you can call your own. Regardless of how busy your life is, you need to have something. Especially those of us that are getting older, over the age of 40. It's a sad world out there, and it's too easy to get caught up in that and become, old, bitter, and twisted. You can't fix the old part. And depending on how you look at it, maybe you can't fix the twisted part either. I'm not always all there, and I'm happy to say, I'm a bit twisted, but in a good way, in a funny way. Well, at least I make myself laugh. But the bitter we can definitely get rid of. There's enough of that in the world. We don't need to add to that. All right? Allows us to show up at our best around people that we care about and love. Just got to find that positive distraction. For the record, for the majority of us, work is not a positive distraction. It's a necessity. But if you're like me, you'll find yourself at work probably thinking about family, friends, your pets, your home, longing for the weekend. Yeah, you're not ever sitting at home longing for work. Let's put it that way. So it's a necessity and we need it, but it's not that. Don't treat that as your positive distraction. All right, it's not. In fact, if anything, you've really, as oxymoron as it feels to say this in today's day and age, you've got to find some balance if you can, some work-life balance. Because your family, your life, your true life, not your working life, your home life, you don't get enough time to embrace it, to be part of it. So maximize it when you've got it. Trust me, you're talking to someone that I've spent, this will be another video, but I've spent years dealing with depression through bipolar. I've had depression and anxiety. The depression I've largely been able to get over. It's still, I wouldn't say depression comes back ever in its fullest effect, but I have a tendency to dwell or be overwhelmed by things that are negative. But I've come good with a lot of ways of dealing with that myself. Anxiety is another thing. I can't fully shake that, especially in crowds of strangers. I can deal with it, and I've learned how to deal with it. And to be honest, if I were to look at things by definition, when my anxiety is controlled well, I would define more as someone that's introverted. Obviously, when it's not controlled well, my whole world falls down. But this is not about that and not about me. But what I'm saying is that it's easier for the likes of people that have anxiety, for example, to get all doom and gloom and let things that leave your life or things that change in your life to write off your life. But we don't want that. No one wants that. Find your creative edge and just love it, embrace it, share it with the world. We need it. The consumers in us want to see more of that from people. Whatever our interests are, I want to see that. I want to experience that and enjoy it. Again, by enjoying other people's creations and creative works, whatever they are, helps take our mind off, what's going on. Another form of positive distraction. As long as you don't get sucked up on it. So don't go watch Netflix. Don't binge watch something. Don't not spend time with the family for the sake of only pursuing your creative outlet. You got to find that balance. But you do need that creative outlet. All right. Well, if you made it this far, brilliant. And if this resonated, even better. That's what I'm all about. I hope it does resonate with some people and they find something in what I'm talking about. I'll take any support I can get. And until next time, look after yourself.